People think Granny is a game about hide and seek. Closets, creaking floorboards, bear traps, an old woman with a baseball bat. But if you stay inside the game long enough, stop running, and just look, you start to realize it's not about escape at all. It's about family. A specific family, where something went very wrong a very long time ago. And if you take everything its creator, a Swedish man named Dennis Vetterlund, known online as DVloper, has scattered across his games over more than a decade, and lay it all out side by side, you get a story that's unsettling even without the jump scares. Today, we're putting it together, piece by piece. Start with the house itself, because in this story, the house is its own character. It stands deep in the woods, far from any road. The windows are barred. The front door has 4 locks, and they don't open with a key. They open with things you collect, room by room. Someone had to install all of that. Someone had to plan it. This isn't the home of a recluse. This is a prepared trap. And this is the first thing nobody really talks about. Granny doesn't catch people who happen to wander into her woods by accident. The house is built to draw them in. The basement, with its chains, existed before any player ever set foot in there. The guillotine didn't appear out of nowhere. Someone, for years, maybe decades, turned an ordinary house into a machine for slow, deliberate killing. The notes from previous victims, the ones you find tucked into corners, all say roughly the same thing in different handwriting. They were held for 5-6 days. They were fed. They weren't killed right away. They were played with. This isn't madness in its raw form. Madness doesn't build like this. Madness kills in a single burst, in a moment of rage. What's here is methodical, scheduled, ritual, which makes what the creator himself once said about Granny's motives all the more interesting. We'll come back to that. She is technically a human, an old woman, gray-haired, in a worn-out dress, barefoot. But the longer you look at her, the less of that humanity stays in the frame. The eyes are white, like boiled egg whites. She isn't blind, though. That's the first myth worth clearing up. She navigates the house perfectly. She hears your footsteps through walls. She wakes up because you dropped a glass on the floor below her. And the moment the player picks up the teddy bear, the one Granny keeps somewhere in her house like it matters, her eyes go red. No human reacts like that. No illness turns an iris into blood in 2 seconds. My theory: I don't think the teddy bear is just an anger trigger. I think it's an anchor. The one thing tying her to whoever she used to be. Maybe it belonged to her child, maybe to her grandchild. And when a stranger picks it up, what wakes up inside her isn't anger. It's something deeper, something less human. The thing that's left in place of grief, in a creature that can't really grieve anymore. She doesn't die, by the way. If you hit her, push her down the stairs, poison her, she gets back up. Not right away. After a while. The game frames this as a mechanic, but if you sit with it for a second, it's just a fact. She can't die. Whatever she is, the normal rules don't apply. In the second game, released in 2019, it turned out she wasn't living alone. She has a husband. His name is just Grandpa. Tall, heavy, balding, carrying a shotgun the way other people carry a pair of glasses. He's nearly deaf. But to compensate, he's fast, he hits hard, and he doesn't bother with bear traps. If he sees you, he shoots. DVloper later confirmed, in an email reply that one of his fans posted in a video, that Grandpa is Slendrina's grandfather, Granny's husband, the father of their shared daughter. There's a photograph in the house in the second game. It hangs on a wall, and the player can stop and look at it. 2 young people. smiling, holding each other. Granny and Grandpa, as they used to be. And this is the heaviest single moment in all of DVloper's universe, for me. Because this couple used to be normal. They dated, they got married, they had a daughter. They probably daydreamed about grandchildren. And somewhere between this photograph and whatever is happening in that house now, something happened. Something that turned two ordinary people into the things they've become. The game doesn't say what, and I think that's intentional. My theory. If you look closely at the photograph, there's a faint white shape in the background, small, in a dress. Most fans read it as an Easter egg, a nod to Slendrina from the DVloper. But what if it's a hint that she was already there? That whatever curse is on this family, if curse is even the right word, started long before the daughter, long before the granddaughter. That this family was marked from the start. Granny and Grandpa have a daughter. Her name is never given, anywhere. Across more than 10 years of games, in any text, she's only ever called Slendrina's mother, which already tells you something. The character was stripped of her name and left with a function. She's a mother. You don't need to know more. And she is the key to this entire story. In one of the older DVloper games, in a diary entry left behind by Slendrina, the girl writes about what her mother did. She poisoned her own family, her husband, her child, possibly herself. For years, fans built theories around it. What curse drove her? What had happened to her? What old evil was at work? And then, in 2018, DVloper gave the only full interview of his entire career to a Korean YouTuber. And when asked directly about the mother's motives, his answer was as short as it was brutal. She was crazy. Just crazy. That's the entire canonical answer. No curse, no ancient evil, no cult. Just inherited madness. Something that lived in the mother first, and then passed to her daughter. My theory. One word in that answer is what got me. Just crazy. That word works like a knife because it refuses to explain. A dramatic motive is always a kind of comfort for the audience. We tell ourselves, she did this because of that. And we relax, because evil with a reason can be reasoned with. When the author tells you there is no reason, and that evil is just somebody's broken biology, it lands differently. There's nothing to defend against, nothing to negotiate with, nothing to punish or treat. And that's the kind of madness living in this family. Quiet, domestic, unexplained. The grandmother, the mother, and, as we'll see now, the granddaughter. Slendrina came first. The very first DVloper game came out in 2013, 4 years before Granny. A little girl in a white dress, long dark hair across her face, standing at the far end of a corridor, not moving. You get closer, and the screen starts to shake. By the time of that first game, Slendrina is already dead. What you're seeing is a ghost, what remained of a child after her mother did what she did. The body died, but something stayed behind. At first, in her mother's old house. Later, we'll find her in Granny's house too, in the newer chapters. The way Slendrina shows up in the game about her own grandmother is its own small horror. She's not there as an enemy, and she's not there as a friend. She's just there, standing in a doorway, appearing in a mirror, caught in the corner of that old photograph, the one with young Granny and Grandpa. My theory. I don't think Slendrina comes to Granny out of revenge, or because she's drawn to the killing. I think she comes because there's nowhere else. This is the only family she has left. The ghost of a child murdered by her own mother is now wandering the house of her grandmother, who has herself become something inhuman, who methodically kills strangers in the rooms below. This isn't a story about monsters. This is a story about what's left of a family when everything human has been bled out of it, and only the habits, the rituals, and the walls remain. The grandmother still lives in the house. The granddaughter still visits. They're just both dead now, in different ways. And there's one more thread, without which none of this fits together. Slendrina isn't just Granny's granddaughter. She had a father, and that father is Slender Man. Yes, that Slender Man. The one that started as a Photoshop contest on a forum in 2009 and grew into one of the most recognizable images in modern horror folklore. DVloper folded him into this universe from the very beginning, which, in this family tree, makes Slender Man Granny's son-in-law, the husband of the woman who was never given a name, the father of the ghost girl in the white dress. It sounds almost funny when you say it out loud. Too many famous horror icons in one family. But sit with it a moment longer, and the logic underneath gets uncomfortable. My theory. What happened in this story when an ordinary woman from an ordinary Swedish family married a thing without a face? What does it do to a woman to be the wife of something that isn't human? What happens to a child born from that marriage? We don't know. But we do know that the woman eventually poisoned her own family. And we do know that her mother, Granny, now lives in an isolated house and hunts down anyone who finds it. And something tells me these two facts are connected. Maybe the madness in this family didn't start in the genes. Maybe somebody brought it home with them. Which leaves the last question. The real one. Why does she kill? In that same Korean interview, DVloper answered it as briefly as he answered everything else. She doesn't have a deep motive. She's just insane. She's in a rage at anyone who enters her home. That's it. No mysterious cult. No ancient evil. No revenge. Only the house. Only the woods. Only the methodical, quiet, domestic cruelty of a thing whose mind broke somewhere along the way and never set itself again. My theory, and I'll end with it. I think Granny, in her own way, is more frightening than most of the canonical horror villains, exactly because of this. Freddy Krueger has a motive. Michael Myers has a diagnosis. Pennywise has hunger. Granny has nothing. She just lives in her house, in her woods, in her endless loop of stalking. And she keeps doing what she does because she can't stop. And somewhere in the same house, her dead granddaughter stands silently in a doorway, watching. That, I think, is the actual horror, not a monster under the bed. A family where everyone went mad in turn, and no one was left to stop it. Next time, we go after Slendrina herself, the girl in the white dress, how she died, what's left of her after death, and why her relationship with her non-human father is the strangest thing in this entire universe. If this one got under your skin, subscribe so you don't miss it. Tell me in the comments which theory feels closest to true. Your own theory works too. Every theory belongs here. I'll see you in the next house.